Hi, welcome once again to M5's English language learning program, Let's Speak English. I'm Gav Duncan and I'm here on your TV to help you learn English. Now, are you sitting comfortably? Yes? Good. And are you ready for today's lesson? Yes? Good. Okay, well, let's learn English together. Hello and welcome. On today's program, I'm going to be asking the question, what's that funny noise? Hang on. No, it's here. What is that funny noise? Oh, it's you again, Vincent. Oh, well, in that case, that's okay.
Keep this up till the ambulance arrives. So don't forget.
All right, now, back to where we were. We were talking about standby, weren't we? Yes, and we had an example where two doctors, a cardiologist and a rheumatologist, went to the theatre. And then, in the middle of the play, one of the actors had a heart attack and collapsed on stage. Now, before we go any further, what about that verb? What about the verb to collapse? Who knows what it means? Well, the verb to collapse means to fall down suddenly. Normally, there's an element of surprise. We build things and we don't normally expect them to collapse. When they do, normally we're pretty surprised. Okay, so we can imagine that happening with buildings, and we've just seen it happen with a bridge. So, can you imagine when a person collapses? Yes, it's not hard to imagine, is it? Well, if you're having trouble imagining it, have a look at this. Okay, so similarly to when a building or a structure collapses, normally we don't expect people to collapse. And so, like in the second part of that video, people normally rush to help. And that's what our two off-duty doctors did. They ran onto the stage and the cardiologist started pumping the man's chest to a disco beat made famous by the Bee Gees, those brothers with the hair and the teeth. As an aside, I went to school with one of the Bee Gees, but he was masquerading under an assumed name. At my school, he called himself Lohan. He pretended that he wasn't actually Robin Gibb. Still, we knew. Anyway, enough about pop stars I went to school with. Let's get back to the doctors. So, one doctor starts doing CPR, and the other doctor, what does he do? Does he sit down and go to sleep? No. Does he go back to his seat and start checking his phone for messages? No. Does he go home for dinner? No. No, the second doctor waits by the man in case his help is required. He's standing by. He's on standby. He's there, not doing anything, just remaining alert, waiting for someone to ask him to do something. All right, now one more thing, and then we'll carry on with our story. And that thing is an acronym. Yes, CPR. So, what about CPR? Well, we know what it means, don't we? Yes, that's when someone dances on your chest to try and make them live again. Okay, but what do the initials stand for? What are the words behind the acronym CPR? CPR means cardiopulmonary resuscitation. Ooh! Well, that's very nice, isn't it? Yes, it is nice. It'd look good as a tattoo, perhaps, but that's not our concern. We need to look at the words and check that we understand them. Okay, first things first, let's split that first word into two. Cardio and pulmonary. Cardio. Have you seen that word before? I'm sure you have. A cardio machine at the gym? Cardio exercises? A cardiology department at a hospital? A cardiologist? An electrocardiograph? You know, an ECG? Okay, so if we see the word cardio, we know that it's connected to the heart. Yes, it comes from the Greek word for heart, cardia. Okay, so that means that we all know that exercises which we call cardio are exercises which concentrate on making our hearts exercise. All right, the acronym CPM. Okay, so we know that the C is cardio, stuff connected to the heart. Great. Now, what's the deal with pulmonary? Well, we've seen this before when we were talking about people drowning. Do you remember? I explained that we're not fish. We're humans, and that means that although we both, fish and us, need oxygen, fish can't extract oxygen from air, only from water. That's why you don't see fish walking about the streets. And it's also why fish don't smoke. Honest. We, on the other hand, can only extract or get oxygen from air, not from water. If we try to breathe underwater, then one thing happens. Our lungs, the pulmonary sacs we keep hidden in our chest, our lungs, fill up with water and then we die. We drown. To drown is to die by trying to breathe water. It's not a good idea to try this. Anyway, so pulmonary. The word comes from the Latin word for lung, half of the set of equipment we keep hidden under our ribcage. So what's the deal with the two words? One Greek and one Latin being squashed together, being combined to make one word. Well, it's because the two systems are so close-knit. We use them together and they only really work together. So we've got the heart, the cardio bit, and we've got the lungs, the pulmonary bit. Okay, and together, what do? Yes, you're darn tootin', Tonto. They ensure that we stay alive. We need both our heart and our lungs to make sure that we keep on living. So, here, in this situation, this is why the two words have been combined, because we're talking about two words which are very closely combined. We're using an adjective which links the two ideas, and so the two words have been linked in the adjective to make a new adjective. All right, so we know cardio from the Greek and we know pulmonary from the Latin, and now we've combined them to make cardiopulmonary. Good. Now what about the next word, resuscitation? Well, that's the noun from the verb to resuscitate. And what does the verb to resuscitate mean? Well, to resuscitate means to try and bring someone back to life. Think about what happens when someone faints. If someone faints, then that person loses consciousness, just like when you go to sleep. Now, when you sleep, you are unconscious, you're sleeping, your body and brain are on standby, you're having a rest. But if Mike Tyson hits you on the jaw, it's quite possible that he'll knock you out. And if you're knocked out, you're unconscious. You've been knocked out. Somebody hit your head and your brain went into standby mode. You've been knocked out. You're unconscious. Somebody or something hit your head so hard that your brain decided it was time to go to sleep. And it's the sort of the same thing with the verb to faint, sort of. When a person faints, they lose consciousness. So that's the same idea, the same result, but there is a big difference. If someone knocks you out, it's a very active idea. Someone did something to you, they hit you, and the blow, the hit to your head was so severe, so bad, that your brain shut down. It went into standby mode. It went to sleep. Now, if you faint, then the result is the same. Your brain shuts down and you lose consciousness. But the idea of fainting is a passive idea, not an active one. When you faint because, I don't know. Perhaps you haven't eaten anything for days and your body is tired, very, very tired. Or maybe it's really hot and you've been standing in the sun for too long. Sometimes people faint when they receive very shocking news. When you faint, it's your body's reaction to the fact that not enough oxygen is getting to your brain. Your body is protecting your brain by shutting down. It's going into standby mode to protect you. So the result is the same. You lose consciousness, you were conscious and now you're unconscious. But the way you get from state A to state B is very different. Either someone or something hit you on the head or it's too hot or something. But as I said, the result is the same. You collapse, you fall onto the floor. Your brain turns itself off. It puts itself into standby mode and so your muscles also turn off. And because the muscles in your legs decide to stop working, you fall down, you collapse. Okay, so You've been knocked out or you've fainted, and as a direct result, you collapsed. You're on the floor with your legs and arms all over the place. Okay, and this is where we get the idea of resuscitate. What do people do when they see that you've been knocked out, when they see that you've fainted? Yes, they come to help you and they try to resuscitate you. They try to revive you. And that word we get from Latin, revive, shows what we're doing or trying to do. Re, the prefix which means again or back, and vivere, the Latin for live. So the verb to revive shows us what we're communicating. We're trying to bring someone back to life. Resuscitate, revive, bring back to life. And as you can imagine, we don't only use these verbs with people. If you're reading about the economy in the newspaper, it's quite likely that you'll read about something in the economy being revived or resuscitated. That's the same idea. Economists are doing things, changing things, investing money here and there, reducing taxes, things like that to bring the economy back to life, to make the economy active again. So, we can use the verbs with people, but we can also use these verbs with the economy or with a business or something like that. Paramedics resuscitated a man who collapsed in the high street. The government of Gimbiland has introduced tax breaks to revive the economy. Okay, so back to where we were. Cardio, heart, pulmonary, lungs, the two most important things that we need to live. Well, the brain's pretty important, but we've all met people who managed to live without a brain. And now, resuscitation, again. This is a word which comes from Latin. The original idea means to raise again, so to bring back to life, just like the verb to revive. So, back to CPR. This is what people can do to help someone who's had a heart attack or something like that. Most people aren't doctors, are they? No, some people are doctors, but most people aren't. Think about the studio, for example. There are 7 of us here, 7 people, but not one person in this studio is a doctor. So there you go, statistical confirmation. Most people aren't doctors. Okay, and if we go a bit further, we can also say that most people aren't paramedics or nurses or members of ambulance crews. So, we know that there are men and women who know what to do in medical emergencies. That's what they do for a living. They help people who are having health problems. And we also know that most people aren't trained to help people who are having health problems. That's why we call the police or the fire brigade or the ambulance service if we need help. If there's an emergency, we call a member of the emergency services and they come in a vehicle with blue flashing lights and a hoo-hoo-hoo siren, and they do what they do. They do what they're trained to do. They come and help the people who are in trouble. Okay, now, say that someone has had a heart attack. They clutch their chest and collapse. Okay, this person needs medical help. This person needs to get to hospital quickly where the doctors and nurses can do things to help the person recover. All right, but we don't have emergency services on every street corner, do we? No, we have to ask them to come and help. That's when they jump into their vehicles and rush to the scene. Okay, but that takes time. There's traffic on the road, so they can't get to the scene as quickly as they'd like. And that's where CPR can help. If someone performs CPR on the person lying on the ground, it means that blood and oxygen will continue to circulate, move around the body, and that means that the body remains on standby. So it's half dead, not 100% dead. So when the ambulance arrives, the paramedics have a half-dead person to work with. And this means that there's a much better chance that the person will survive. If we just leave someone lying in the street, then the chance of survival isn't as good. And on that informative note, it's time for us to part for the day. Have fun for the rest of the afternoon, people, and get ready for tomorrow. Because you all know what day tomorrow is, don't you? Yes, it's not Tuesday. I'll see you all tomorrow. See you later. Have fun. www.mediaclick.hu. Bye.